Hey guys, so I wanted to do a quick little spring collection clean out, quick declutter. Just wanted to pick out a few things that I am ready to pass on, things that are no longer useful to me. They'll go off to new homes, to friends, I'll donate them, or I'll list them on my local Buy Nothing project group. So none of these will be going in the trash, but they're just things that aren't really serving me anymore. So I've got 10 things to share. This time I'm not going to take you through my collection. I'm just going to kind of show the products to you. Sometimes I will actually go into the drawers and take you through my whole collection, but I didn't feel like that was necessary this time just because it's only a little handful of things. So let's go ahead and get started. I've got a few eyeshadow palettes that I have decided to pass on. Two of these actually joined my collection very recently, but they were sent to me by brands. I tested them out and then kind of just realized they aren't really for me. So the first one is this Undone Beauty Curator Eye Palette. And you did see me testing this out in my full face of Undone Beauty, which I can link below. There's nothing wrong with this palette. It's just a, basic neutral palette. The shades didn't wow me, like they weren't, so beautiful and pigmented that I was blown away. And the main thing that I really don't like about this palette and what makes me not want to reach for it over my other palettes is that the shades are all kind of smushed together in there. They're not in their own individual pans. And so I find it hard to get the shadow onto my brush without getting like other shades in there as well. It's just a little tricky for me and it's just not my preference as far as like palette format. So this one is going to go off to a new home. I'm sure I have a friend who'd be really excited to get this. It's a good like everyday work appropriate type of palette, but it's just not for me. I've got other palettes that I prefer to use instead of that. Similarly, this one was also a PR product that I got from Aether Beauty. Love Aether. I'm actually wearing one of their other palettes on my eyes today. Their Ametrine Quad. Got it right here. I actually filmed this look for my Instagram Reels, by the way, in case you're curious. It'll be up soon if it's not already up. By the way, my eyes are watering really badly today. I think it's a combination of like allergies and I think I put my sunscreen a little bit too close to my eyes. So I'm not like tearing up. I'm not that sad to let go of these products. But the reason that I want to pass this on is just, this is their Amethyst palette. So it's a very purpley kind of palette and it also leans very deep and kind of dusty for me. And these just aren't the kinds of shades that I gravitate towards. I do like wearing purple eyeshadow sometimes, but it's really not a shade that I need like a whole palette dedicated to. So considering what else I have in my collection, this just isn't a palette that I'm going to be using very often at all. It's not going to get the love that it deserves in my collection. So I actually have a friend in mind that I think would really like this. So I think I'd rather give it to a new home where it's going to get, loved and appreciated the way it deserves. Okay, the next palette is one that's been in my collection for a long time, and it is finally time to let this one go. I've almost decluttered it so many times. I bet a lot of you who've been watching me for a while can guess exactly which palette I'm talking about. This one. The Profusion Spectrum palette. It's finally time to let go of this one. I've gone so up and down with this. There have been times that I've really disliked it. There have been times that I've really enjoyed it. And, the verdict that I came to is it's really not a bad palette. I actually enjoy using it, especially for kind of single color looks, like just a wash of lime green in the outer corner or just a quick like wash of sky blue all over my lid. It works fine for that. Some of the shades hardly show up at all, like the orange. Some of them show up great. It definitely feels like a $5 palette, and I've finally gotten to the point now where I have built up my collection of colorful eyeshadows, both magnetic singles and just ones in palettes. Like I recently got the BH Cosmetics Summer in Saint Tropez palette, and that one has a lot of colorful shades that I really like using. So I basically have a replacement for every one of these shades now, and so it is time now to let this one go. I'm sure someone will enjoy this, especially a beginner to color. It's not a useless palette, like it can be fun if you're just kind of starting to play around with color, but there's just much better quality shadows out there, so I am ready. And I've known for a while I would eventually declutter this once I felt like I had, some better quality colors in my collection. So that day has finally come. Let's all just wave goodbye to this sweet little palette. Another eye-related product that I've decided to go ahead and declutter is the ABH Eye Primer. I've talked about this several times. It really just doesn't work for me. it doesn't do a good job, and I need an eye primer that does its job, that keeps my eyeshadows in place, keeps them from creasing. Right now I also have the Urban Decay Primer Potion. That one works great for me. There's just no reason why I would use this. This came in that little sultry vault. It's just a little like deluxe sample size. I'm sure, you know, it'll last a long time because you only need a little bit at a time, but it almost looks like it's practically empty now, but this is how much it came with. Like, I have used it quite a bit, but it was basically this empty when it arrived, so it's kind of silly, but there's still plenty of uses in here. I just don't need this. I've also decided to let go of my e.l.f. 16-Hour Camo Concealer. Part of the reason why I want to get rid of this is just because the shade is way too light, and of course I can mix it with other concealers, but I have other concealers that I like better. This one just is not my favorite. It's not my preference. It's not a bad concealer. It has really high coverage. I'm sure it would look even better coverage-wise if I had the proper shade. This one is just way too light. It also is just a little bit drying for me. I prefer something a bit more hydrating. So out of all of my concealers, I just felt like this was the one that I would rather not put myself through trying to pan this. Like, I'd rather pan some of the ones that I actually enjoy using. So I am going to go ahead and let go of that. And once again, I've got friends that I think this would match. Another product from Undone that I am just going to go ahead and pass on while it's new because it's just the wrong shade for me is their Flawlush Brow. This is a dual-ended brow pen and brow gel. I like the format of the product itself. It's just that the shade is way too dark. I have the shade, I think it's medium brown or warm brown, and I typically wear like taupe, so it's just a little too dark and a little too warm for me. I just don't need to keep trying to make this work when it clearly doesn't work for me. All right, two brushes that I've decided to pass on. These are two that I've really liked in the past, but lately I've just noticed that this is just not a style of brush that works for me, and it is two stipple brushes. I just realized that stipple brushes create too much texture on my skin. Like, they seem to kind of lift up the foundation underneath. Typically I would use these to apply like cream or liquid cheek products. So this first one is the ecotools Blending and Bronzing Brush. I used to also use this for powder bronzer, but I prefer something a little bit more dense. I don't really like this sort of like sparse duo fiber kind of brush for that. I prefer just like this e.l.f. Flawless Face brush, or maybe even like a fluffier sort of angled brush. But this, I've just realized, and also this one's really big. For some reason, stipple brushes just don't give me the best like blended look anymore. Maybe they used to, or maybe I used to just be walking around with patchy bronzer, I don't remember. But and then also the e.l.f. Small Stipple Brush. I loved this for so many years, and I've had this for so many years, but for whatever reason, with cream blushes, this just, I feel like it just messes with my foundation too much. It's because the bristles are almost too, like, they're soft, but because they're so stipply, they're kind of far apart, they're almost a little too, like, pokey or scratchy or something for my skin. So for that purpose, I prefer actually a much more dense domed brush, like the e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. This one is actually great for cream blush. I think it's technically meant for foundation, but I really like it for cream blush. Or, you know, a dense angled brush, anything like that, but this is just not what I've been using for that, and they're just no longer serving me. A lip balm that I'm gonna go ahead and pass on is the Pacifica Vegan Care Balm. It says vanilla sheer and cucumber extract for lips and skin. This is just a very thin balm, and I don't feel like it is doing anything for my lips. It's too thin and oily. I just have other balms that I prefer. I'd rather use one that actually works. I don't know, it's got a nice texture, but I feel like it's too oily, and it almost just like slips away from my lips within a matter of minutes. It doesn't like stay on there and really get into my lips and hydrate them, so it's not really working for me. And finally, a perfume that I've decided to pass on is the Love by Urban Cowboy perfume. I liked this for a really long time. It's a really inexpensive perfume, but I have just gotten tired of the scent. Sometimes that happens to me with perfumes, where I really like them to begin with, but then I wear them a lot and then I get tired of the scent. And now the scent just, I don't like the scent like I used to. It's almost too like powdery and sweet for me. So, you know, I'm sure someone else would enjoy this. It's nearly full. Perfume takes forever to go through, and I've just got some other scents that I really like that I've been using from Skylar for a long time. I haven't gotten tired of any of those scents yet, so that's what I've been reaching for. Just haven't been into that one. So I didn't spend a lot of money on it. I think it was like 20 bucks, so it's not like I'm not like I'm getting rid of like an $80 perfume, but those are the 10 items that I have decided to go ahead and pass on. They're things that I just know could be more loved if someone else had them. But that is it for today. If you guys enjoyed this video, I would love to have you subscribe to my channel if you've not already. I upload 2 to 3 videos every week. Hopefully I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.